Save Sentinels! Here is Universe Unique, and today, the truth comes to light. Have you ever thought about the irony of all this? For years, DC has built Henry Cavill as the ultimate symbol of hope, the Superman of a generation. And now, when the studio finally decides to start over from scratch, the most insane and powerful rumor emerges. Henry Cavill may be coming back, but not as Clark Kent, but as Bruce Wayne. Before we delve into this identity collapse, subscribe to the channel. Seriously, we are about to reach an important milestone here at the Forbidden Universe, and each subscription helps this content continue to uncover the hidden truths of the multiverse. If you are someone who wants to see what others are not seeing, this is your place. Now hold this image, Cavill in a black suit with a dark look and the bat symbol emblazoned on his chest. It's not a crude fan montage. These are leaked photos that perfectly match the plans that James Gunn has been suggesting behind the scenes. It may seem like an internet delusion, but there's a detail in these images that no one talks about. And that connects directly to a casting test from years ago. I'll come back to that. What's at stake here is not just a bold casting choice. It's a complete redefinition of the DC archetypes. Clark and Bruce have always been opposite extremes, light and shadow, faith and control. And Cavill, who carried the sun on his chest, may now be the chosen one to inhabit the shadows. This is not just curious, it's symbolic. It's provocative, narrative, and perhaps reparation. If this content is connecting you with the truths of the multiverse, go ahead and like it and join our secret subscribers line. When Henry Cavill appeared by surprise in the post-credits scene of Black Adam, the internet exploded. It seemed like the beginning of a new phase. But it was actually the last gasp of an era. Behind the scenes, James Gunn and Peter Safran already knew. Cavill wouldn't return as Superman. The plan was different. A total reboot, a younger, more connected, more planned universe. In Gunn's own words. The problem is that no one informed Cavill in advance. He was called back, filmed his part, gave interviews, and days later, he was discarded. Gunn admitted it was unfair. He said it outright. It was poorly handled. And it was. Because besides being a respected actor, Cavill carried the symbolic weight of Superman on his shoulders since Man of Steel. A film that may divide opinions, but that rebuilt the myth for a new generation. And this kind of construction is not erased just like that, out of nowhere. The audience felt it. The commotion on social media was not just about a change of actor. It was about the abrupt end of an idea. Cavill was more than an actor. He became, for many, the missing link between the classic Superman and a DC still trying to find its tone. And when Gunn hit the brakes, the studio lost not only a face, it also lost trust. Because when you promise something and then backtrack, the fandom doesn't forget. And maybe that's exactly why Cavill's name continues to orbit like a satellite around the new phase of the DCU. Unofficially, but behind the scenes, in interviews, in speculations. Gunn doesn't want to burn that bridge completely. And the reason may be linked to something beyond Superman. There is a desire to correct the course, but how this will be done is still shrouded in shadow. Literally. The choice of Cavill for Bruce Wayne didn't come out of nowhere. It's easy to imagine this as just another fan delusion, until you remember that, years before donning the S symbol, Cavill had already auditioned for Batman. That's right. Before Man of Steel, he was considered to play the Dark Knight in projects that never materialized. At the time, he was too young for the role. But now, with the imposing physique and screen maturity he has gained, the equation changes completely. James Gunn has made it clear that the new Batman will be introduced in The Brave and the Bold, a film centered on the relationship between Bruce and his son, Damian Wayne, the most aggressive and unstable Robin in recent comics. This means that this Batman will not be a beginner. He will be a veteran. A dark strategist who has already experienced losses and betrayals. And who better than Cavill to deliver that silent intensity, that emotional weight that an experienced Bruce demands? There is also a visual element that cannot be ignored. The leaked images, unconfirmed but extremely detailed, show Cavill in a Batman suit that closely resembles the new 52 version. Reinforced armor, militarized look, with less focus on the detective's agility and more on the warrior's brutality. It's a more physical Batman, almost a human tank. And let's face it, this has everything to do with what Cavill represents on screen. His own voice, deep, restrained, with that almost clean British accent, already carries the weight of a bitter Bruce Wayne. And that's where the choice reveals itself to be less absurd than it seems. It's not just about recycling an actor. It's about taking advantage of the symbolic capital of someone who already represents strength, honor, and isolation. Someone who was taken out of the spotlight, but can come back through the shadows. But there's a detail in this that almost no one is commenting on. And this detail can change everything we think we know about this version of Batman. DC has a long tradition of playing with swapped identities, parallel realities, and alternative versions of its classic heroes. In the comics, it's not uncommon to see Bruce Wayne wearing Superman's suit, or Clark Kent acting as Batman. One of the most striking examples happens in Superman, Speeding Bullets, a classic from the Elseworlds line, where Kal-El is adopted by the Waynes and grows up as a Kryptonian Batman. The result is a figure that mixes Bruce's brutality with Clark's absolute powers. The most curious thing, he becomes darker than both. Another remarkable case comes from Justice League, Gods and Monsters, a animation in which Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are completely different versions of the originals. There, Batman is Kirk Langstrom, a scientist who turned into a vampiric creature. But what matters in this context is the idea that the Batman brand is flexible. It can adapt, mutate, take on unexpected forms. The identity of the Bat is an archetype. It's not just Bruce Wayne. It's a mask that represents trauma, justice, and paranoia. And Cavill, even coming from Superman's light, can carry these shadows with authenticity. In the New 52 itself, which Gunn often cites as aesthetic and narrative inspiration, we had moments when Bruce was replaced by other characters. And it wasn't a scandal. On the contrary, the idea of seeing an unlikely person taking on the mantle, like when Commissioner Gordon became Batman with a mechanical suit, always sparked intense debates. Because Batman, after all, is the symbol. And the symbol, more than the man behind it, is what drives the mythology. So, if Cavill does indeed take on the role, this would not be a betrayal of DC logic. It would be a creative continuity. A move that has been tested before, on paper and on screen. And now, in the cinema, it can take on a new dimension. Especially if Gunn's intention is to merge archetypes, mix legacies, and create a Bruce Wayne who seems, at the same time, familiar and completely new. But there is one thing that connects all these alternative Batmans. They always come with a cost. A loss, a sacrifice, grief, or an unresolved anger. And if that's the case, Cavill is about to play the most wounded Batman in recent history. If Henry Cavill really is the new Batman, the impact goes far beyond just changing characters. It's a shift in symbolic axis within the DCU itself. Up until now, fans were gearing up for a complete reboot. A hard reset, with new faces and fresh storylines. But Cavill's reintroduction into this new universe, in such a central role, breaks that logic. Repurposing an icon from the past isn't just a pure reboot. It's selective reconstruction. It's emotional retcon. And this move may reveal something deeper in James Gunn's plan. The presence of Damian Wayne in the first film of the new phase already suggests that this universe will start with advanced stories, experienced heroes, ongoing legacies. So maybe we won't see the birth of Batman, but rather the weight of his choices. And Cavill, with a history of portraying a hero in moral crisis, as was his Superman in Batman vs Superman, carries this kind of burden naturally. If he is indeed the Bruce Wayne of this new phase, the relationship with Damian takes on a different tone. It's not just a distant father, It's a man who has lost everything, been discarded as a symbol of hope, and now needs to learn to mentor someone as unstable as he once was. The idea of seeing Cavill at the center of a darker, more tactical, less epic, and more personal DCU fits perfectly with the proposal of the brave and the bold. The armor, heavy rain, dry tone of voice, hardened look. Everything points to a Batman who has already passed the point of no return, and this also affects the architecture of the universe. An older Bruce suggests that other heroes are also in advanced stages. Where is the Justice League in this scenario? Where is Clark? Or, better yet, does he even exist? The absence of Superman in this new timeline may be exactly what opened up space for Bruce to become the central axis. And then, Cavill becomes the symbol he always was, only on the opposite side. But there is one last theory circulating, and it could bring down everything we have just built. What if Cavill is not Bruce? What if he is Thomas Wayne? There is a possibility that is gaining strength among the most attentive fans, and that completely changes Henry Cavill's role within the new DCU. What if he is not Bruce Wayne? What if in fact Cavill is cast as Thomas Wayne, the Batman from the alternative timeline of Flashpoint? This version of the character is brutal, more violent, and deeply marked by tragedy. Instead of losing his parents, it was his son, Bruce, who died in the alley. This turned Thomas into a vigilante driven by anger, who acts outside the moral boundaries of the traditional Batman. A man in constant despair, guided more by pain than by logic. And this opens up a range of much denser narrative possibilities. Cavill, in this context, would be the link between the old DCU and a divergent timeline, something that is gaining strength among the most attentive fans. It fits perfectly with the events seen in The Flash, and with the dark tone that Gunn wants to imprint on certain projects. The audience already recognizes Cavill as a hero who has suffered betrayals, losses, and injustices. Seeing him now as Thomas would be more than coherent. It would be symbolic, an echo of the Superman he was, now perverted by everything he has lost. Furthermore, casting Cavill as Thomas Wayne would avoid the problem of overlapping with a young Bruce, who will probably be introduced in parallel in the new main timeline. This would allow for the exploration of multiversal narratives, keep Cavill on the radar without disrupting continuity, and still give the audience a dark version of the Dark Knight, without overshadowing the new actors cast for the future. This kind of strategy has already been successfully tested in The Batman Who Laughs, in the comics, and in the alternative versions of the Flashpoint Paradox animation. In both cases, the distorted figure of Batman served as a mirror of what the traditional hero could become in extreme circumstances. And Gunn, who has already declared his love for the darker versions of the characters, certainly knows this material. In the end, Cavill could be the new Batman. But perhaps not in the way everyone is imagining. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It challenges expectations, mixes symbols, and puts an actor marked by hope at the center of the shadows. So, Sentinels, what do you think? Does Cavill have a place in this new universe as the Dark Knight? Are we on the brink of darkness? Or are we about to see an even bigger twist? Comment down below, because the conversation doesn't end here. And in the next video, we will analyze the future of Damian Wayne in the DCU, and why he might be the most dangerous Robin in history.